whether it's airlines, travel agency, car rentals, hospitality.
In this episode of Green Sharks, we have Vishal.
And I don't mind being patient. I am here for my long-term shareholders.
Vishal is a fourth-generation entrepreneur currently heading Kamat Hotels.
What we see today in Kamat Hotels is a successful, 28 years running brand, an Indian brand.
Kamat Hotels is a successful 28 years running brand. Operating 16 properties across India, Kamat Hotels Limited has over 300 crores in revenue.
Hotels we've added approximately broadly around 400 rooms. Those have started maturing now. Jamnagar.
Today, Vishal is taking us through his 20 years journey of being at Kamat.
Hi everyone, today we are in Mumbai with Kamat Hotels. This is the first episode of the third season. Bigger companies, bigger stories, and the companies with bigger growth. Today we are with Mr. Vishal Kamat, and he's the third generation entrepreneur. Kamat Hotels owns several brands such as Era by Orchid Hotels, a couple of hotels are 5 stars of theirs, and they own Lotus Resorts too. So today we would like to understand the Kamat Hotel story. Where is it going? How has been the journey since 1986? It's been nearly 50 years that they've been in business. And to explain it all, we have with us the promoter himself. So thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Namaskar. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So firstly, when we start, we ask about the promoter's journey. You're a third generation entrepreneur. The question towards you would be, how did you join the business? At what age did you join the business? And prior to that, where did you study? How was your educational background?
Firstly, we are more than actually 50 odd years old because my family's, I'm not the third. I'm technically third. Technically third, but practically fourth generation.
Okay.
My father used to work with his grandfather in Bangalore in Kamat restaurants, and that's how basically the legacy has continued of us being in hospitality more than 85 years. So it's a plus point also. It's also a challenge because it's something to be taken forward, not to be taken for granted. I joined my father's business in the year 2004 and started off working in Kamat Hotels as a trainee apprentice then management trainee. Of course, working in your own company, there are certain plus points also, and there's some minus points also. So it's not as easy, but that said and done, for that extra experience, I worked in other hotels also.
Okay.
So I worked at the Oberoi Hotels, I worked at the Taj. These are groups which are our industry stalwarts, and everyone who's somebody today has somewhere down his life has been touched by the career and the exposure that you've got from a Taj or an Oberoi Hotels. And I think that's the kind of service to the nation that any good corporate would do, including Kamat Hotels. How do we add value to somebody's life apart from our own, whether it's our staff, whether it's our society? And taking that ethos forward, my father started in 1997 Asia's first 5-star eco-hotel hotel, which today now people know what is environmentally sensitive and being eco-friendly. But at that time, to have the foresight and the vision to have a luxury hotel which is environmentally sustainable, adding value to the community, and while what we see today in Kamat Hotels, a successful 28 years running brand, an Indian brand, the Orchid. There are very few successful 5-star Indian brands, and Orchid Hotel is one of them.
Okay, wonderful. The same lines, you just said that it is well before 50 years that you started the business. Like if I take story of Marriott International, which is the largest hotel chain in the world, they started as a root beer stand for just 9 people, and from there they expanded. Okay, so how did Kamat Hotels start? Was it by serving food? Was it by serving drinks? Or directly you went to hotels? How was it?
No, hotels are a much later evolution. Like even as you said, any brand which has become an institution, his roots are always humble. Okay, today the biggest of biggest names, they started off as small traders, worked very hard, worked on the lines of a certain ethos and grown. Same way Kamat Hotel started off as a very simple idli, medu vada, and those kind of snacks which we call South Indian snacks and South Indian food, and grew one of the largest. Our family was one of the largest pure vegetarian restaurant chains in India. We still are if you put us all together, but along the way, as in any family business, there are segregations, there are separations. So I have a lot of cousins who are also doing exceedingly well in their own right, and that's how basically we have a host of restaurants from which our great grandfather, worked hard, worked with his siblings, and as a family came up. So we as a family have been very prosperous, very good in that sense. So roots are all humble. My grandfather came to Mumbai at the age of 10 worked as a dishwasher. And from there, due to his acumen, due to his hard work, he also put up a small restaurant, not even a restaurant, what we would today say a rekdi. Rekdi means literally handstand. And from there, working very hard, put up a little larger place. Then he pawned my grandmother's jewelry, started the famous Satkar restaurant at Mumbai. So Satkar is an icon. I mean, today it's no more because it was in our family separation with my uncle.
Okay.
And then for whatever reasons best, he did not continue it.
Wonderful. No, that was the story I was looking for, like humble beginnings. And look, there must have been millions of small shops, but only some turn out to be large hotels or restaurants or large institutions, like you rightly said. Look, when someone hears hotel or airlines, anything that's related to leisure, it's an extremely volatile industry. Okay, we have seen the 2001, the 9/11 we saw, there was a huge slump in travel demand. And then we saw 2008, 2009 global financial crisis. Then specifically for India, between 2011 and 2014 somewhere, the travel demand was very low. Then again, we got hit by demonetization. Then there was the COVID that no one can forget. And during all these times, the travel demand must have dipped by like 85-90%. So how did you overcome that? Because many hotels, many airline companies, you take India, you take abroad, many companies go bust. How come you are continuously, growing, and balance sheet is absolutely healthy now? So how is it that you are able to, shy away from all these issues and still grow on? And what if COVID 2.0 comes or some new disease comes or next event comes? How are you prepared?
So, calamities are to come as a cycle of life is but natural. Every up has a down, but every down has a up also. The one who is prudent in his business, the one who is built on a foundation of ethos and who doesn't stray from those ethos, will continue. That is what is the difference between a business and an institution. If an institution survives, it is because it is built on certain foundations and if you move away from those foundations, then of course it's a challenge. See, all these downs which are there, which you mentioned, these have come and you have to be very flexible and dynamic. They are bound to come. But look at the world, na? Every time there has been a calamity, after a particular, it's like a spring. When you press the spring down, but when you release the spring, it bounces back up, and sometimes it bounces double. It jumps from your from the thing. It doesn't just open back up. So this is the kind of thing which you see, whether you've seen in after September 11th or whether you've seen after the 2008-10 crash. It's a but natural cycle. It's very important that we have a strong, stable, and a forward-looking government, because only a good governance can help good business. What do we as citizens want? We want good law and order, we want good basic infrastructure, and we want to be able to have the freedom to exercise our business rights and in general our creative artistry, whether you call it freedom of speech, whether you call it about being able to see cinema. So when you have these basic fundamentals in society, which we today see, today, our government has been very proactive in the last 10 years. I'm also Chairman CII Maharashtra, and we interact closely with the government. Yes, challenges are always going to be there. They will always be there. Why? Because when you solve one, a new one props up. When you solve another, there is no limit to man's greed, just as there is no limit to his need. So in both these cases, you want that always some improvement further. So this is always going to be a chartered demand. Each time a demand is fulfilled, and that is the nature of growth. And that is why the country is growing. Infrastructure is improving. because the infrastructure is improving, hospitality and leisure travel and tourism travel and general travel is growing. So whether it's airlines, travel agency, car rentals, hospitality, restaurants, this, so basically infrastructure is growing. Second, disposable income is growing because today more and more youth, when I say youth, means the people who are in the 21 to 35, more and more are getting job placements in terms of double income also households. Earlier it would only be one person earning. Now it's a triple income. It's moved from double to even triple, where the children who are staying with their parents still, because in India there's nothing wrong with that. We stay with our parents, you know, till we are married or even sometimes beyond that. And that's why in a house now there's triple income. So that's how this quality of the household improves, the spending capacity improves, you see white goods improving. And that's basically how every calamity has to be dealt with flexibility and with consistent focus. You have to, Corona, how did we come out of Corona? Overnight when the world was crying, that time, you know, it was, I appreciate I thank my mother was in tension, my father was in tension, but they supported me and I basically supported the government initiative of Vande Bharat. And at that time, even my wife, who could have sat at home, said, no, I will come with you. And we were one of the first, I think, 8 hotels that includes Era or Mumbai and Orchid Mumbai to participate in the first flight that landed in India of Vande Bharat, which was an Air India flight. And that's how basically we were able to tide the COVID by converting our hotel systematically into a transit and a COVID center for holding and for you know, then people would go. Then after that we became a full-fledged COVID center where people who were asymptomatic were kept with us. They would recover after 8 days, 15 days, 21 days, depending on what the in-house doctor who we had tied up with said. And that's how basically we were able to keep the property running.
So you said about COVID, but you were clocking in revenues during this assistance period, right? Or was it completely
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Because you had to maintain...
Even in COVID, where even in a period like COVID, we did a 33 crore EBITDA.
Yeah.
If today, you know, I would not have been in the position that I was in terms of, you know, being with our ARCs, who I'm grateful for. All our bankers have been very supportive, very, very supportive. Again, having good partners is very important. Having a very good life partner, having a very good business partner, and having a very good finance partner. These people are also very, very important in being able to take you from where you are to where you will go in life.
Then you said about this finances and how you've paid them back. That's segue into my next question, is that you did an immense expansion from financial year 2008 to maybe financial year 2011, and then there was a huge debt pile. Then there was a huge debt raise where you went from maybe 100 crore debt to 600, 700 crore debt from FY11, financial year 2011 to financial year 2016. So, and from 600 crore, then you went directly to, I think, 170 crore that you are at today, financial year 2024. So it's a huge volatility in the debt that you're taking. So when you took this debt, what did you do for the company? Like during that expansion phase, where did you expand and where did it go wrong if it did go wrong?
See, there are many things which went wrong, but I'd like to just sum it up by saying that especially in the year 2000 to 2011, that was the phase where from 2005 to 2008, India and the world was on fire. I mean, the world changed. One of the real turning points of the world was 2005, where suddenly everything went berserk. You would book a flat, and I kid you not, it might sound exaggerated, but my fellow audience who's older than me or younger than or on my age, they'd remember this. You'd book a flat and literally in 15 days or even a month, the builder would offer you more than that just to take that flat back because the price had gone up 30%, 25% in a month. Sometimes it's extraordinary the kind of stories that you hear, and then he would want to pay you a premium just so you release that so you can give it to someone else.
That is happening now too.
That is happening now too. Okay, I didn't know that because I'm not really looking for a flat right now. But jokes apart, that kind of situation, if it's happening, okay, is basically about easy money.
Yeah.
If you look at Kamat's or Tata's, everybody struggled at that time. Whether it's chorus transaction, whether it is our own Kamat Hotel over leveraging itself. So this was our thing where we as business people forgot our Indian prudentness.
Okay.
And now today, look at every Indian hospitality or industry player. They're back with their prudence. Today, look at the phenomenal growth. Yet you don't find them going and borrowing left, right, center on their balance sheet.
True.
Everybody's come back to their Indian thoughts, Indian roots. I'll borrow, but I'll borrow limited. Or I'll take an equity partner, or I'll do this thing, but not over leverage myself again. And that's why if tomorrow again Corona Part 2 comes, I think all of us, mostly, not all, but majority of the promoters will be in a very good position to fight that off. Because now we know what is going to come. If Corona 2, 3, 24, even if it comes, we know it's a habit now. So we don't need to worry about Corona ever coming back in that sense. Because now whatever fear psychosis was there has gone. Now we understand it.
Yeah, so coming back to the question, I'm not able to fill the gap, but this money, the huge debt pile that you created, what did you do with it? Meaning,
So we basically took a lot of loan and put a lot of good money after bad. We had a hotel in Pune. We have, a hotel in Pune. In that particular project, we invested a lot of good money after bad. We had a very bad partnership, and we did some very impractical calls based on that. But luckily for us, and then we were trying to sell that property also and things and all. Luckily for us, we didn't have to sell it. We tried to sell it, but then when eventually to come to when your more recent 2021, 22 phase in 22, at that particular time when we did our, not 21, 22, sorry, 22, 23, when we did our restructuring and in that the asset remained with the company, and touch wood, the conviction that we had in that property is paid off because today is doing exceedingly well. So a lot of basically over leveraging on putting a lot of good money, like I said, after bad, which was at that time, Pune was down. 2014, the hospitality industry was down because industry was down. See, hospitality industry is a very good barometer of the overall sentiments and the industry. If people are having extra money, they'll come to a restaurant. If people are in a happy mood, they'll come to a restaurant. So when you are wanting to celebrate your birthday and you also have got a good saving or a paycheck or a bonus or some occasion, that's when you'll take your friends and family. But if you are sad, if you are unemployed, or if you are employed but you're not really getting some saving aspect out of it, then what will you do? You'll eat at home, or you'll not celebrate. You'll have some small celebration, thoda kuch ghar pe. So hospitality depends a lot on the well-being of the nation, and it's a very good indicator. So if today hospitality is booming, it shows that overall industry is booming and there is an overall khushali in the economy.
So to summarize, during this leverage period, you expanded, put good money behind bad money, especially in Pune, and there was a overall slowdown in tourism demand in India.
There was a big slowdown, and I think the turning point again came in 2014. Whether people accept or not is okay, because I'm just here to based on my own company's statistics. And in 2014, what was my observation? My major observation was whether the economy genuinely turned or not is immaterial. What is material is the level of bookings that I was getting, the rates that I was getting, the volume of my increase in growth, and we can physically see based on numbers how after 2014, the new government coming in, whatever was their marketing, whatever was their perception, whatever was their reality, all aside, the fact is that Kamat Hotel numbers started going very well from that time. And especially from 2016 onwards, we did exceedingly well. So 2016, and we've been, and it shows, we've been actually and this is where, we've been also, as part of CI and others, working towards helping other promoters, where it is very unfair that those who are good promoters, profitable promoters, still sitting with an ARC are not able to get routine funding.
ARC means?
ARC is asset reconstruction companies. So they are a very good bridge to help a struggling promoter to come out. But when they should be coming out of an ARC, the regulatories don't, the norms are not friendly to this. They should be friendly. You can't have that a new bank, if he finds all your parameters perfect, you can't have it so rigid that no bank will give him a loan. And that's how basically you still have to go to a fund. Now you are in trouble, you've come out, or rather you're coming out, you can't go to a fund who's going to charge you high interest, and then so you're trapped there. So these are the small things which, but that's where we were able to overcome these challenges also, thanks to our partners who basically invested in us. One is Alpha Alternatives, one is True North, and SBI. All three of them, SBI Fund. All three of them, they funded into us, and they took over all the ARC loans, and that's how from 300 at that time was the transaction, 297. We paid off out of that, and we've come to now 172, and this financial year we'll come to even less than that.
Okay, wonderful. So 600 to 170, below 170.
Yeah, definitely. Our target is basically to keep growing, but to grow with hardly any debt. We don't really need so much debt. We are doing exceedingly well in terms of our own EBITDAs, in terms of our cash flows. So we want to come to a first net positive in terms of our debt situation, and then bring that further down. But yes, we will because we will still want to be part of certain banks as part of our relations. So we'll still have some debt, but it will never be like what it was before.
Makes sense. So usually when I speak to a company, after they've told about the promoter, the journey, next question is how explain the value chain of the business. But in hotel business, very straightforward, even a 12-year-old, 15-year-old kid can understand. But there are still complexities. For example, there are 3-4 models from what I understand. The first is that you build the property, then you completely take care of it. You don't have to answer to anyone. Second is it is a lease model where the hotel structure is already there. You go in and say that, boss, I'll run the hotel for you and I'll pay you rent. Third is a managed property. Fourth is a franchisee model. So can you tell me the models that you are in, okay, and tell me the differences, like how each model works in Indian context? So because there is no content that exactly explains this in Indian context. So can you easily break it down?
I'll give you a breakup of basically. There's, like you said, one is an owned asset where you own and operate it yourself, like what we do as Orchid Hotels, as Era by Orchid. We own and operate our own assets. Second is basically which is a lease or a revenue share, where you've taken it on a simple lease. I pay lease, but then all the expenses and the top line and everything is mine. Okay, there are pros and cons for each. The third one is again the revenue share. Sometimes the owner says, no, I don't mind a little MG, which is like a FD, amount, which I'll get secured. That worst case scenario. But if the sales go up, then I get to share with you on the revenue, and that's not bad because it depends again. It can range percentage to percentage. It's a negotiated thing. So that, and then lastly franchise, which you said, which we don't do at all. So as Kamat Hotels, Orchid, we don't franchise our Orchid, Era brands because in franchising basically we haven't yet felt that India is a mature enough market to understand and digest and to build on the franchising concept. In India, laws are weak. Mentality is weak. Everybody thinks that since I have put the asset, I am the owner. They do not have the sense of ownership of the brand. They only think of their myopic limitations that I have put so much money in the asset. But why did you take this franchise? You took this franchise because you thought it will add value to your asset. That means it will add value to your image, it will add value to your balance sheet, it will add value to both. And then after taking this, you discount and say, no, this is all rubbish. I will do what I have to do. Then you have defeated your own purpose of getting into that franchise agreement. Then better would have been that you do ownership only. Why have you taken franchise? So many people don't understand this and they have a very short-term thinking. So the brand suffers because when a customer comes to an Orchid Hotel, he's going to expect something. And if something is not right, which happens in Orchid Hotel also, as in any hotel, he wants a redressal mechanism. That time when he goes to the lobby and if he complains, and if the manager over there, based on the owner's attitude, says, I don't care. So what is he going to say? He's going to say, Orchid acha nahi hai, Vishal, tera hotel acha nahi hai. He's not going to say, ye tera franchise hai, iske liye main tere ko yahan maaf karta hu. He doesn't say that. So we don't want to get into franchise. What we do, other three, is owned. We have our own. We have Orchid Mumbai. We have, like I mentioned, Pune. We have Goa. We used to own Era by Orchid Mumbai. Again, doing exceedingly well even now. And then we have other places also. Then we have managed also. We have in Lonavala. We have in Pune one more, the Orchid Toyam, which is just launched, doing very good response we got. It's a upper-end luxury product. So that is there. So we have managed also. Then we have leased. We earlier used to manage some other hotels. Now we have leased also. We have leased in Jamnagar. We have leased in, now we have Dehradun Orchid Hotel opening. We have Chandigarh Orchid Hotel opening. We have quite a few. So my point is that each one has a pros and cons. Now what is broadly the pros and cons in these three? The pros of all three is that as a managed, or rather both, managed and leased, is that we are in control and we are responsible. Kuch bhi ho gaya, we are in control, we are responsible. So you are able to take the entire top line with you, you are able to take the EBITDA with you, and whatever you have to pay, you have to pay. Whether it is interest in a owned or whether it is a leased rental or a MG in the, but in the management,
MG means
minimum guarantee.
Minimum guarantee.
Correct. Sorry. So in the managed, the advantage and the disadvantage is that In the advantage is that you do the entire mehnat. Okay. If the owner is supportive, you do fantastically well. But you get only a percentage of that. That percentage ranges based on what you finally negotiated. Okay. But broadly, it's around 7% odd.
Okay.
Okay. 7% of the overall.
Wait, 7%
Of
overall
the
they
overall
get. They
sale.
take.
No, we
You
get,
get,
as a
okay.
management company.
Okay.
Broadly, you get around 7% of the management company. They get the rest.
Okay.
Why not? Because they are their asset. So your efforts, but the advantage is that if there is a downtime, if there is suppose Corona, in Corona, in a managed property, I would have been like, hey, kya karna hai mere ko? But in a ownership property, I have to banker aa gaya. You know? So this is where the gap lies. But if it's boom time, like right now, the people who are in managed, they will earn more.
The rebound analogy that you said.
Correct, the rebound. So when you look at a business in the long term, when you look at, like Warren Buffett says, now if you see every day you lose money, your shares. But if you look at the long term, that how people who have invested over a long horizon in a fundamental company, same way in a fundamental location, if you have invested well and you've put a hotel and your life cycle is a 25-year cycle, 30-year cycle, you're bound to have some hits down.
Absolutely.
But you're more going to have ups. And especially if you have a prudent player like we are, then you are bound to make it a success in the long run. And there are enough examples of that.
No, so absolutely. Like what you mentioned earlier, like if you go to a McDonald's or a Pizza Hut, you don't think it's owned by Devyani International or Jubilant Foodworks or nothing. It's McDonald's, so you expect a minimum level of service. That's why I said, explain the Indian context, which you rightly said, that like franchising model is currently not apt.
See, Devyani is not a franchisor.
Okay.
Devyani is the master franchisor. There's a big difference.
Okay.
Devyani himself is a prudent man who's taken a big brand, brought it, and understood that I am the owner of this brand in India. So if one Domino's also screws up, that means it will affect all mine, so I cannot allow. Devyani has not further given it to a XYZ guy who's then whatever he आज मेरा मन है मैं पिज्जा में चिकन कम डालूंगा मैं पनीर में कम डालूंगा क्यों क्योंकि मेरा कॉस्टिंग ये महीना बहुत बढ़ गया गॉन द कस्टमर विल से अरे ये क्या है मेरा टॉपिंग्स तो आधा हो गया पैसा उतना ही है हाउ डज ही रिड्रेस इट So Devyani is himself an owner, and this is exactly my point. You've hit that in the head that today, whether it's a McDonald's who's having Hardcastle or whether it is Devyani Foods, these people are themselves owners of the brand in the country.
Okay.
And they take their responsibility as a franchisee, or rather I would say master franchisee, very seriously, and that's why they're successful.
So you think that mentality in the hotel business is currently lacking? That
In general,
franchisee can be done.
Not in the hotel industry, in general Indian context. My example I gave you is a general industry challenge. Whether it's a wholesaler, whether it's a distributor, whether it's a franchisee of any industry, unless and until the franchise. Now let's take the case of in automotive. Why is it that certain dealers, same bike, same branded bike, why certain dealers do exceedingly well? Why certain dealers do not? The bike is the same, coming off the same line, but dealer A, people flock to him because he's giving you something more. When you've gone to that guy, one, how does he treat you? How has he kept his store? Is it clean, nice? Because you're buying, what are you buying? You're not buying a vehicle. You're not buying a need to go from A to B. You're buying an aspiration. When you put so much money together and you're saying, ये मेरा 75,000 है, 1 लाख रुपया है, मेरे कोई ऐसा bike चाहिए जो when I sit on it, I feel wow, I deserve it and my aspiration is met. My wife or my girlfriend, if she's sitting behind me, she should say, well done. Huh? But how will that come? That when I go to buy it, that same imagination that I'm carrying in my mind is fulfilled. That is what is hospitality. Whether you're buying a car, whether buying anything, your aspiration has to be met. Why do you go to a 5-star hotel? Because you can go to a 2-star hotel also, but it doesn't meet your aspirations. It doesn't meet what you want to project to your guests. If you're going to come for a meeting and you're going to meet me in some small place, like a cafe coffee day, okay, probably your client might, depending on what kind of meeting it is, he'd wonder that should I do business with you? But you say, come meet me at Orchid Ka coffee shop, you'll be like, oh, okay, let me go, Sreeram is, it matters. So this is where the difference lies. Owners who take their field for granted, whether they are a stockist, whether they are a shop, this like I said, a bike distributor, seller, whatever it may be. If you don't give that little extra more and take it upon you, ki nahi, ye mera hai. It's not that this guy's and I'm just being a postman. No, that's what differentiates and that's what makes those people shine in their segment.
So then now you've spoken about your journey and what the business is. I want to understand, and you spoke on the rebound analogy as well. But if I look at your hotel, like Kamat Hotels revenue as a whole, the top line is pretty much flat year on year. If I look at financial 24, you closed at maybe around 312 crore top line, which is considerably flat compared to financial year 23. But if you look, the travel industry is at the all-time high. Indigo is reporting $1 billion plus dollar profit in FY24. Other hotel companies are doing well. And considering that you've added rooms, still that revenue growth is not seen. So what is the reason behind that?
So whatever we've added is now maturing.
Okay.
It takes time. So if Indigo has shown a brilliant growth and anyone else has shown a brilliant growth, it is not based on what they've had. It's based on what they've added. The number of planes they've added is high. Today, hotels we've added approximately broadly around 400 rooms. Those have started maturing now. Jamnagar just opened up in November. We have Ayodhya which opened up just now on the 17th of April on Ram Navami. We have a few other now, Orchid Toyam, small hotel. The Toyam Orchid Hotel is small, but it's just added now. It's starting in this first of June, is when it's starting.
Okay.
So when you look at basically the added revenue that will come once these rooms start and mature. Now we will get a full tenure this year, full April to April for Jamnagar. We'll get a full April to April, almost a full April to April of Ayodhya. We'll get now we have done some acquisitions. We purchased our the hotels which were managed in Manali and Shimla. Now that we took that over that company, so that also top line will now come. We were getting earlier management fees. So when we look at all this inventory which is being added into the Kamat Hotels portfolio, there are few things we've done because we have a lot of real estate also which we want to further develop and we want to further exploit. Like you rightly said, the growth will only come when these added will start giving the thing, and that is going to happen from this year. So what we expect that from our 300 this year to go to 400, which is basically a 33% growth in our top line. We expect that to happen this year based on all these hotels kicking in. Some have got delayed, unfortunately, like Dehradun was to open but it's got delayed. Chandigarh also got a little delayed. See, when you're working with the owners, that time you have to take into account their also challenges, and sometimes it happens. If it was left to us, it would have been much faster. But sometimes some things happen. So they are partners, and they are partners for the next 20 years because you signed up with them for 20 years. So it takes a little time. But keeping all these things in mind, still we are very confident to be able to take our growth from what we are today at 300 to 400 this year. So also one other thing which very frankly we must appreciate is that all this time we've been not doing anything beyond what we were doing, which is basically in 2022 till our financing happened, 22-23, we were stagnant as a company because there was no point when we are already with an ARC and we need every single rupee to be collected prudently and pay off our existing loans and come out of those challenges. Otherwise, how would it happen?
When you're in financial troubles, you don't have time for creativity also.
No, you might have, but is it going to be able to add value without creating a burden like today? One of the reasons that our EBITDA has fallen, is because we're expanding. When you are expanding, you suddenly now need a BD. A BD means business development guy. You need a business development team. You are suddenly flying. Earlier, we would not fly much. Where would we fly? We would fly only to our Orissa, Bhubaneswar, or we would fly to probably Goa, and we are mainly in Maharashtra, so we would go by road. But today, now you are in Himachal, now you are in Orissa, now you are in Goa, you are in Mumbai, or rather Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, we didn't have in Aurangabad, now we have Sambhaji Nagar, we have, now we have so when you have so much expansion happening, you have more and more people traveling for business development, for QC, for setting up new projects. Then earlier what would happen in the hierarchy was very flat and very lean because you didn't need to develop anybody. But now that you're expanding, you need to have a tier of extra people who will be able to be the next in command when someone gets promoted or someone is told, hey, you know what, you're a good manager, why don't you go to, now example, our Sambhaji Nagar head of the hotel, he was earlier working in Pune Orchid. Before that, he opened Nashik Hotel. Then we said, you know what, you've done a good job, don't worry, you are a young guy, you've not been a GM before, why don't you go as an operational manager? If you make any goof up, we will support you, don't worry. But tu ja, kar. So now suddenly in the system we had no extra people. So when we were earlier working on a very lean model, now we have a expanded team of around 10-12% more people so that we can take care of the next rung of growth. Otherwise, how will we expand?
So just meaning making the answer more concise, the revenue is not being reflected yet because the new rooms are yet to materialize and show the full year revenue.
Correct.
And you're saying that margins have reduced. Like, what level are you looking? EBITDA level margins, operating margins?
Operating margins. Okay. Basically, your EBITDA will be, now where will I, if I want to expand and I want another manager there, I'd first want him to work in our company, be part, because it's not about only opening a hotel. It's about taking that ethos over there. Our friendliness with our staff, our friendliness with our guests, our tagline, which is the friendly, eco-friendly. The eco-friendly part also going there, doing the 4-bin segregation, vermicompost, putting into place all the eco-friendly aspects which we have of saving light, water, energy. Then once the team is set, going to the local areas, involving the local community, doing cleanup drives. When we did a cleanup drive in Manali, at Manali Orchid, most of the people were laughing at us. They said, hey, tumhara kaam nahi hai, tum kya mazak kar rahe ho? But the team, they did not get deterred. By evening, other hoteliers joined in. And now it's become a regular feature on Environment Day and other days to come together as a community and do it. So people will initially always think कि क्या पागलपंती है ये लोग क्या कर रहे हैं ऑर्किड वाले ऐसा 5-star वाले ऐसा कर रहे हैं but then when they see your sincerity and then when you connect with their inner ethos that नहीं यार I should also help, they're doing something nice. Most people want to help and then suddenly we had so many people and now it's like I said growing. So this is
okay. So then for next financial year, how many rooms or keys in this industry, I would say, do you plan to open and do you intend to, 400 crores is what you just mentioned, right?
Right.
But then
that is based on what we have right now.
Right.
It's not which will add on. That add-on may take it further.
No, but
so we are not in a hurry. See, right now also the industry is very hot. I would not want to we get a lot of opportunities. We've left very good opportunities in Rishikesh, in Haridwar, in other parts of Himachal, because we've been doing very well in Himachal. Wow, Orchid Manali, Orchid Shimla, both are doing well. So other people say, come mera hotel lo. But I don't want to burden myself because again, remember I said about a 20-year life cycle. Okay, I cannot pay somebody today the kind of expectation they have because the market or the sector is hot and expect this to be forever.
Understood.
That's not happening.
So to make that again, you said, this is a very good point. You cannot expand very rigorously because they'll charge you high if you're taking a 20-year lease because of the current demand is so high.
Correct.
And you can't extrapolate that same demand and pay that same rental fee for the next 20 years.
I don't know if it'll be there after 3 years also like this.
Yeah. So they're taking a best case scenario and asking for the lease rental for that best case scenario, but that's not true for the next 20 years, right? Ups and
Correct.
downs.
There will be 3, at least when we talk about 7-year cycle, though that's not as relevant anymore because today anything can be a disruptor. I mean, the Red Sea attack suddenly disrupted the fantastic growth temporarily and then it bounced in another way. So you can't today say that everything is going to be a cycle. Disruption can come from anywhere. It can be geopolitical and affect us since we are such an integrated place. So we have to be very prudent. And again, I would not like to repeat if I did not learn from the mistakes of my past, then I'm in fool. So I don't want to be aggressive. I want to make sure that I grow systematically, stably, making money in the long run for me and my shareholders, both. Otherwise, it's just for the sake of instant growth. If I do some foolish things and pashtawa after 4 years, 5 years, that's not happening.
What you said now and 20 minutes earlier makes a lot of sense. I can connect. last time what you did is there was huge travel demand, you extrapolated it for the next 10 years, 15 years.
Correct.
So you did aggressive expansion.
Absolutely
right. Now that same time is happening, but you are not taking the same action.
Absolutely right.
Understood. Got it.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kamat Hotels' real growth comes when others' chips are down.
Got it. Understood. Very well. So then you said Jamnagar and Ayodhya.
Ayodhya, Jamnagar, Sambhaji Nagar, Orchid Toyam. There are various new properties which have now joined in, yes.
These two regions are trending regions. Okay, meaning demand will be there, but these are trending regions. Is your strategy like, boss, what has been on the news, what is trending, let's go there? Or do you have a fixed mindset that I want this much in Himachal, this much in Shillong, whatever, different places? Do you have a fixed mindset or are you going with the trend?
So broadly, we have an expansion geography in mind for us. Okay. Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, Odisha, Himachal, Delhi, Karnataka. These are Tamil Nadu. These are broadly areas where we've been looking at. We've been getting, it's not that we've not got some very nice properties from Kerala, but unless I don't get a fulcrum, I would, like in West Bengal, other than Calcutta, I'm not really interested in West Bengal.
Understood.
Maybe if I get Calcutta, then I might look at Siliguri or something. But I've got opportunity in Siliguri, but I haven't really looked at it because it's not. Now, why are we looking in Dehradun? Why did I mention Rishikesh and Haridwar? Because when we, and even Jim Corbett, how many properties we've been getting in Jim Corbett? It's a boom. And that's why I'm not very keen to take it.
Okay.
If I get it something on my terms, I will. Because going forward, there is going to be a glut. There may not be a slump in travel, but there'll be a glut in supply.
Absolutely. 100%.
So it's a matter of time that there will be this glut in supply, and then either I should be having the product to be able to fight the glut, or I should be able to have that kind of price point, which is a mass point where it doesn't matter. I have not yet found a product like that in Jim Corbett which could appeal to me on either. I'm not really for the price point. I want from the experiential point. So coming back to Dehradun, but having Dehradun, we were openly minded looking at Mussoorie, Haridwar and Rishikesh. But again, based on value, not just what is hot right now.
How do you, very quickly, can you tell me, how do you define value? How do you see, do you make projections, okay, boss, these many travelers will come, we'll get this much break even in these many years?
Correct. That's the thing,
How
break
do you do
even.
it?
That's my job. I mean, my job is, see, you have the data, you have the market knowledge, you have many ex-employees of yours in other hotels who give you additional market knowledge. Okay, and you put all this together. Based on that, you have certain metrics, and then you see what is it that is going to be the break even, like you rightly said.
Understood.
In terms of what is my break even, what is my long term return, how is that adding value in my existing network. Okay, today we have a lot of corporate base. We have a lot of corporate clientele. So Jamnagar fits into that.
Okay.
Ayodhya is, yes, it is we've been looking at UP. We've been looking from long time actually in Lucknow, in other places. We got this opportunity, it happened. So sometimes, obviously, Ayodhya is a hot thing for everyone, and Touchwood is doing exceedingly well. And many more are coming, and they will continue to do well because there is that much demand in Ayodhya. Ayodhya is, ARRs also are fantastic.
ARR, meaning
average room rates are fantastic.
Room rates, okay. No, someone said that only 2 hotels are currently there in Ayodhya, which is well known. There are 60 under development or under negotiation for managed property or lease. Now let me ask you, if you started in Ayodhya, Ayodhya might be an exception because of the current boom, but besides that, if you take something on a 20-year lease, how much is the break-even period? Break-even meaning that hotel, after paying the rent for that particular year, is profitable. How many years does that take usually?
It doesn't take very long.
Okay.
Because you're not putting your capex.
True.
You're only putting some opex and you are operating the hotel. So it doesn't have a very long break even when you take it from the this thing side. What do you call lease side?
Got it. So then I want to understand quickly, like in India, the number of foreign arrivals in 2022 were around 9 million, I would say 7 million. And in 2023, it was around 9 million. But then 2016, 2017, 2018, there were like 10 million, 11 million. So despite the world tourism rebounding, world travel demand rebounding, hotel industry rebounding, the number of foreign tourists that's coming to India is still below pre-COVID levels that we saw in 2018, 2017. Why is that? What is the case?
So there are a lot of reasons for this. One is that we as a nation, how do we firstly count what is a foreign tourist? A lot of the foreign tourists who are counted are also not necessarily actual tourists. They are either business people or they are medical tourism people. Like you find that a lot of people from Bangladesh in this come to India. They come because we are a natural trading partner. We are a natural place for them to come to Kolkata medical. They come to Kolkata for the business or to come to India for that matter for different things, be it textile, be it whatever. So our firstly definition of tourists or rather foreign arrivals needs to be very nicely segregated so that each segment of this can be targeted. Now in this also many old Indians, मतलब जो पहले एक ज़माने में Indian थे, Indian origin जो बोलते हैं, who might be now OCI holders and other things. You know, all these are also
considered tourists.
Not tourists; they're considered foreign arrivals. So there's a lot of things which are basically within this data. Now, when we talk about our industry, tourists. Now, here's another challenge: is that one, our visa process itself is very tedious. We need better visa. With friendly nations, why don't we have a visa on arrival? It doesn't really matter much if, but the government would have its own reasons, safety, security, national concerns. But if those are addressed, then why not make visa on arrival more friendly? Why not make getting a visa easy? Coming to India is not so easy. And secondly, it's not so cheap also. By the way, India is not a cheap tourist destination. It is quite an expensive tourist destination when you consider Europeans are able to go to Marrakesh or they're able to go to these other places very reasonably by flight, very reasonably by no visa hassles, very reasonably because euro is usable here and there. So there is a lot of tourism who comes to India because they want to come to India, but the cost is very high. And considering the kind of geopolitical issues that are there right now, their disposable incomes are also quite stretched. So people aren't necessarily going for then it's not that they're not holidaying, but they aren't necessarily going for long holidays. Europeans, Americans, Westerners in general plan their holidays well in advance.
That's true.
Okay, we as Indians, that's why Indians pay better and have a better yield because we plan it very last minute. जाना है तो जाना है because अभी मेरे को काम से फुर्सत मिला है, छुट्टी मिला है. You know, you can't, even me, I also cannot guarantee that I will be able to go. So my foreign holidays also are always booked last moment. So this is where one of the big challenges are there.
Got it. No, that's very insightful. I didn't think about it that way. You said, yeah, I was looking at the data. United States is number one. Number of, it can be primarily because of business.
All our former Indian, Gujarati friends, you know, who are now American passport holders, they are there. I mean, UK, if you look at one of the UK, Canada, India and America, these are one of the larger coming people. But why? Because whether it is the Punjabi community, whether it is the Gujarati community, Gujarati Maharashtrians from America, where from UK, whether it's the, again, Gujarati and other mixed communities from there.
Got it. Yeah. No, so first was United States, second was Bangladesh, and third was United Kingdom. In 2022, foreign tourists that have come to foreign arrivals.
I did not know this. I thought Bangladesh was top even now, but now they're second.
Yes. And so I want to look to reduce this debt. Now going back previous 30 or 40 minutes that what we discussed, going back, you mentioned that the debt, you took it down from 600 crores to 170 crores yesterday.
Yeah.
And there was a transaction of 125 crores.
Right.
But it does not make sense. If you look practically, what you did was you owned that hotel. That is Ira by Orchid in Mumbai, next to the airport, prime location. You sold that property, and now you have taken it on lease from the new owner. Can you explain how would that financially make sense, if not practically?
Okay. So first and foremostly, it's a transaction which we were not very keen to do, but we did it under the final consultation of our lenders. We were not very keen for selling that hotel at that time, but we were more keen to sell the Pune hotel because that is how basically the initial. So the gentleman who bought it, He's a gentleman from Mauritius. He's also into hospitality and textiles and other real estate. They have a lot of business in Mauritius, real estate. They own power plant. I think not power plant, this solar plant. They own solar plants. They have textile. They have real estate. They have hotels in London. They have hotels in Mauritius. They own an Intercontinental Holiday Inn. So basically, they are fairly large people, and they are also Indian origin only. So they've been investing in India. They have properties in India already and things and all of different nature, textile, and all. But this opportunity, we had at that time wanted to deleverage and finish this transaction, like I said, with Alpha Alternatives, True North, and SBI Fund. They were coming in. So that time, the whole transaction was fitting at 300 CR.
Okay.
Or 297, which finally the exact figure it came to. So at that particular time, we were selling the Pune hotel, but due to certain challenges and others, we basically decided that okay, we will sell, and the lenders basically said yes, you must sell, because even today, though we are in a comfortable position, 300 on our balance sheet debt would have been a very uncomfortable position in terms of the matrices. Okay. And when the transaction happened in 22-23 duration, we must remember that also every transaction takes months. It's not कि आज का क्या situation है अपन करते हैं. So considering the journey that it took, considering the months of discussion, negotiation, and other things that happened, this was the final outcome of that deal. And we weren't very happy with it, because we agree with you that it could have always been better. As a promoter, it pinches me to give away one of my child. Okay, but we had no choice, and but one thing is our nature. This is my father's and my nature is that once we've committed something, then we'll stick by that commitment. There is no reason for us to this thing. So we were happy to just remove all the burden, and theek hai, now today we are sitting with 172. But what happened was that along the discussions and along with so first let me come to the 125 sale. So what happened is, now the minute I sell 125, considering that our interest rate was 20% on that, okay, it's a no-brainer that 125 अगर गया, तो आपका कितना interest बच गया? 25 CR. So we saved 25 CR worth of interest, which would have been on my books to pay to the lenders. So that was one big plus point from the sale. Valuation could have been more, less, this, that's all apart. Important is that what is the benefit. So 25 was that. But as we were talking to them, and he also, like I said, owns Holiday in Intercon, he had some options with him. So we also gave him an option. And said, we would like to continue to run it. See, 200 rooms in Mumbai today is not a small inventory. And it's a fantastic hotel doing exceedingly well. And it's at a prime location, as you said, at T2. So we are at T1, we are at T2. So when the months of discussion progressed, we got to know him better. He got to know us better, because we didn't have a working relationship. Guest would come, stay with us. So basically, how we know him also was coming. He would come, stay with us, and off and on. How in a hotel you meet people.
Understood.
And you meet all kinds of people, At that time, so time and again, people would come and stay with us, say, मेरे को आपको खरीदने का ये होटल है, मैं ये कर रहा हूँ. Even today also, people now don't ask about buying. They ask us ulta, कि I am buying this hotel, will you be my consultant? So it helps us in our business also. So what happened was that we basically sold. Then when the equation between us built up very well, we said, why don't we run it? Because it's already our child, we already know how it is, so we'll continue to run it. And it became a win-win for him and us. He said, yes, it's a good idea. So based on that, we continued to take it to run it also. And now by running it, what is the fayda? Let me tell you. So the example is that we made a 4 crore rupees fee on top of, apart from the 25 saving of interest, we, for running the property, I think mota we made a 4 crore rupees fee last year. On running the property. So now I would have not run the property, I would have not had this 4 crore.
No, but sir, you would have had revenues if you hadn't sold that property, right?
I got other revenues. Still,
even if 25 crores is
from us. No, but it's leased now.
Revenue is staying consistent because you've leased it back.
We leased it back from him, na?
And you're saving 25 crores because interest is
on. And we made 4 crore rupees from the management.
Okay, but then you're paying lease rentals then.
ठीक
How
है
much
ना?
is lease rentals?
But even if I'm paying the lease rentals, net effect क्या है मेरा? 25 plus 4, 29.
Hmm.
So I have also gained, na? It's not that only he has gained, it's not only I have gained. We have mutually gained. So this is how the structure was, and this is how it was done as a holistic as part of the entire
Okay.
this thing.
Okay.
And eventually now what is my target? Now based on what what we have, our target is to bring this 172 down towards the 100 mark, which will happen. Because now our two partners who are left with us, because recently Alpha Alternatives took a early exit on after mutual discussions, and we were able to pay and bring this whole transaction further down. And that's how Axis Bank came on board. So now we don't have high interest
on the
that.
entire 170 crore,
No,
how much is the interest you're paying?
Now now we are paying 10.75 on the Axis part, which is about 110, 112 CR, I think.
Okay.
And that's Axis Bank. And balance we have around 50 odd crores on which we have our 20%.
Okay.
So that also will be paid off in the month of July.
Okay.
July end, we will be paying that off all from internal accruals. So we will be sitting with only 112 crore debt in the month of July.
And with low interest costs compared to how it was before, like
10.75.
20%.
So by this financial year end, I should be in a position to be comfortably coming to net positive
Okay.
by this year itself.
Got it. So then to conclude this transaction, what you said, because I was not able to wrap my head around how can someone sell a property for 125 crore when flats in Gurgaon are going for 150 crore, 5 BHK is going. So what you're trying to say is, I'll break this into two parts, benefit
So
and cost.
one minute, when a flat is going for 5 CR, what is the rent you're getting on it?
Yield is low.
Think, what is your gain? Your gain has to be quantified. If today you bought a flat in Gurgaon for 2 CR 10 years back, and today if that flat has become 5 CR, after paying the capital gains on the 3 CR that you said, whatever you left is your profit, right? Is your earning,
Okay.
correct? But if today you did not sell this flat, and if today you calculate that what rental you're getting today after 10 years, will you equate that with what is the notional value on the flat that you would have sold it at, or is it at the purchase value? You bought a flat 10 years back at 2 crore, you sold it today at 5 crore. But suppose you don't sold it at 5, then and you are getting suppose 2% of 5%, but how much percent of 2 crore is that when you bought it?
That's true.
So you've also got to see many things in perspective. It's not fair to compare this with that when the objective is different.
Okay. So essentially, to break it down, the benefit that you got is 125 crore, you've reduced the debt. That let you save around 25 crore in interest cost.
That saved our interest cost, that brought our shareholders value. Look at it this way, na? When I had all these properties with me and I had this huge burden, our market cap and our share price was 70-90 rupees. Okay. Today, by me as a promoter sacrificing and being able to take that, today our share has gone to 290, 300, 275, 325, fluctuates between whatever. So if by one transaction I've been able to give my shareholders from 90 to 300 ka value, okay, I think it's not a bad thing from that perspective also. And to be able to bring that further down and take this further up in terms of my performance and consistently making sure that, we are in that, like I just now explained. See, you have to see the purpose, the holistic. What will I do by keeping this value, okay, and not concluding on what I've committed, and my shareholders still struggling and saying, your shares are not moving. Ultimately, why is someone investing in me? He's investing in me to so that his money will grow. I cannot give him growth.
As a promoter, you cannot get, go into those investor sides, meaning that share price has to do well, that scene.
That's not what I meant. What I meant is that today, look at it this way, that in 2022, our shares were in 70-90 rupees. We sold these assets, this asset, we sold this asset, we brought down the balance sheet. You won't said the balance sheet is very good and cleaned up and neat.
Yeah.
So now suddenly when an investor wants to come in, or someone who's already invested in me, both will see na the
No,
balance
yeah,
sheet.
absolutely. That's a drastic change.
So
what you have done.
and that is just the start.
Mhm.
Based on my what Kamat Group was purposely very quiet
Mm.
till 2020 to 23.
Mm.
Why were we quiet? Why was my father and me quiet? We were quiet mainly because there was nothing to say. My main job was to make sure that I come out of this problem, Kamat Hotels come out of this problem, and then we talk about growth, then we talk about shareholder value, then we talk about these other aspects.
Okay. So just to conclude, because we're running out of time,
Ah.
this 125 crore, it was something that was agreed much before this boom. That's why you had to settle for a lower amount than what you could have if you were to write the agreement.
They should
Okay.
never be. Whenever you buy, sell, shares, property, whatever, once you've done it, done it.
Correct. Correct.
Why
No,
keep
absolutely.
regret?
Absolutely. So this
What,
pledged,
what would any little extra money more make in my life, which would not, if suppose I would wait for a better rainy day and I'd say, चलो मैं ये 125 के बजाय मैं इसको 175 या 150 में बेचता हूँ, but 25 crore, how would it make any difference? The running rate of the interest
yeah,
is not worth the upside, because you don't even know whether that upside is there. Suppose someone says, no, it's too costly, I'll not buy. Bird in hand, bichara, is better than 50 in the bush.
So then this pledged percentage currently, just two questions. Pledged
Sure, please
percentage
take your time.
is currently high. The promoters have pledged their stake.
Yes.
So why is that? Do you see that coming down?
So, good question. Basically, our pledge percentage is high based on historics, because when we were in CDR, then we went into restructuring, then we went into ARC. So historically, all these pledges were there. But as you can see, that our pledge from 90 plus, which was there, has now come down to 80 odd something.
Yeah, 81%.
81%.
Yes.
How this 10% has come down? Because as part of the structure also, promoter infused equity along with one of our investment partners, along with a couple of our investment partners, who's Alpha Alternatives. They also bought in warrants. So warrants was issued to the promoters, warrants was issued to them, and that's how basically we have been converting our warrants. See, we are fully convinced, obviously, of our own company, right? Otherwise, I would not take these kind
Understood.
of call and put. So we've put our money where our mouth is,
Yeah.
and being using that money to repay the debts and to repay the loans and to bring this down. In
Got
fact, the entire 50 odd crore rupees of the Alpha Alternative, not Alpha, sorry, of True North and of this guy, our SBI fund, will be paid off through mainly internal accruals. We have generated so much cash flow, and we are generating by that date that comes of July. Okay, that we will be paying this off from internal cash flows. I'm not taking financing,
Got
taking
it.
money. So imagine.
Got it.
That's how well Touchwood the company is doing, and I don't mind being patient. I am here for my long-term shareholders. I am going to make sure that all of us benefit in the long run, because we have learned so many things in the last 10-15 years, and we will be working based on that. And whatever we said we'll do, I always gave guidance that this year would be flat. I've said before only, because I'm not in a man in a hurry. I want to make sure that now I don't make the mistakes of the past, and make sure that my shareholders who are with me grow, and grow in a robust, fundamental way.
Awesome, sir. Awesome. So, look, this interview, you are coming, this is a turnaround stage, I feel, because you're coming from the position was not comfortable, like you rightly said, 4 years or 5 years ago. Now you're growing in a straight line, and things are changing, balance sheet has improved. So, this must have been a very difficult,
No,
conversation.
not at all. What you ask me is what everybody asks me or is on their mind, and if it's on their mind, it's my job to make that clear.
Yes.
It is our duty, what I've done, and there is nothing like any difficult question. Difficult question is only always for those people who don't want to answer something. And we are very transparent. We are Kamat, we have always been known for that. So aisa kuch ye nahi, anything in fact you have, I'm always here for that.
So you said that 400 crores is what you're targeting for FY25. Look, earlier you said that there are new rooms, now old rooms. So what percentage of revenue, or exactly what revenue do you expect from the old rooms, and new rooms, how much would it be to make for this 400 crores?
See, we basically have, it is a very good question. This was asked to me by somebody else also, that how, and many a times we know it in our head, but we don't say it properly. So, Kamat Hotels and its subsidiaries will basically come holistically to this 400 mark, as we had given a guidance. We have basically Kamat Hotels itself, which will come to the 240 mark, okay, and then its subsidiary, which is Orchid Hotels Pune Private Limited,
Okay.
that would come to around 80 or to 90 in between. Then we have, the hotels which we have in Shimla, Manali, that would add about another 20. We have then the hotels which Bhubaneswar and those properties, those will add another additional around like 20. So all these put together, then our Jamnagar, Bhavnagar, then we've not added into this. I have not necessarily added the Ayodhya figures, which now will be added. And then you have the Dehradun, and then you have the Chandigarh. So cumulatively, all this put together will broadly come to around 400, and our target is to cross that.
Got it,
I don't want to achieve 400, I want to go more.
Got it. So whatever the numbers you mentioned is coming to 360 crore. I just added up, it's coming to 360
There's
crore.
something I'm missing out, actually.
But just answer, can you help me with how much is, very simple, how much is old, how much is new?
So in this, broadly around 60 CR would be added as new.
New, okay. So it will be 340 plus 60. That's the exact breakup I was looking for. And so in the tourist industry, there is December is a certain spike and May is the lowest in terms of foreign arrivals. Okay. I'm sure even though there will be NRIs and things like that, but why is this?
It is mainly because of the monsoons.
Okay.
So India still is a very monsoon dependent economy, and it will always remain. So during monsoon, shipping, oil and gas, these are the segments which have a dip.
Okay.
So though many industries tend to go back for monsoon, they don't work in monsoon, and then again, and it's too hot also. So that's basically when they're not here, heat and rain. And then they come back from around Ganpati time, September time. So September time again you find, and then there's again festive times. So that's how it is.
Great, sir. And so on the resorts, I'm going to ask you, look, in a very, very general, I'll ask like a boy, if you're doing hotels, you can stack rooms over each other. But resorts, you can't do that.
You can.
One
you can
over
have
the
a
other.
vertical.
You
would
usually
so
see in a
vertical.
flat ground, right?
That is the type of hotel you've gone to as a flat. But you can have a vertical resort. So many resorts are vertical in Lonavala, in so many other places. They are all vertical. In Goa, all these resorts are where they are flat. They are vertical. They are buildings. These are not necessary that a resort. But yes, if you're going to an experiential resort, a luxury resort where you are charging so much, like Orchid Toyam, we're charging around 15 to 25,000 rupees a night. You don't want to go to a building. You want to go to a villa. You want a privacy, and you want to be in a hotel where you know there are others, but you don't see anybody else. So that's the kind of experience you want. So then you're willing to pay for it. So then why will you go vertical? Greenery is all around. You're next to a lake. So this is the kind of thing. So hotels can be vertical or spaced out. That depends on what product each one is making.
No, from very basic sense, I thought if 1,000 square feet, if it's a hotel, you can make 10,000, meaning you can put 10 floors, 10,000 square feet then, like a saleable area, the hotel. But then if it's a resort, if it's 1,000 square feet, that's it. If it's a luxurious experiential resort. But then the land prices over there would be lower so that you can spread it out?
It's not necessarily like that. It's basically based on what product are you making. It's nothing to do with only land prices. It's based on what product are you making. If you're making a MICE-oriented resort, you will make it into a building with a big conference. If you're making a leisure and a wellness, you'll only have a fantastic spa, but maybe no conference hall.
Got it. So, and how are your margins? Like, which is more profitable for your hotel or like a resort?
Any product where you are able to keep your overheads down. Okay. So now if you have a resort, continuing your resort example, if you have a spaced out resort with 100 rooms, it may be less profitable than a resort which is more like in a tower. But naturally, because your overheads have come down, your security, your maintenance, your area. So margins basically differ from product to product, place to place, rooms to rooms. But broadly, Kamat Hotels generally does anywhere between 35 and 45% GOP margins for its hotels.
GOP means?
Gross operating profit.
Gross operating. So thank you very much. The entire agenda of this episode is that we have candid conversation with promoters. Usually on con calls, you don't see the person, right? It's just telephonic. It can even be an AI that's doing it. Meaning, I'm not going that way, but I'm just saying, this gives the investors
some of the
confidence.
questions which some analysts ask, I don't think it's AI at all.
But so this has been a great experience, and thank you very much. I wish you all the best. I really appreciate the fact that you're growing, you're being prudent, reducing the capital by reducing the debt, firstly, and while expanding, putting new rooms, going into new geographies, taking prudent risks.
Thank you.